What's going on, Washington fans? Welcome to Bleacher Report. I am Josh Taylor at Josh Taylor FB on social media. Or if you watch my YouTube channel, JTFB, you can see me there as well. Hope you all had a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. As you can tell, I'm not at my house in Austin, Texas. I am in Virginia, celebrating for the holidays with family. And so I was thinking about what we should talk about for this stream and watching the games from this past weekend, obviously with Washington and such, but then of course the days on the games on Christmas Day, and Christmas Eve. People say like, Josh, what should I be rooting for the rest of the season? What does Washington's draft position really look like for the last two games of the season? How high can they pick? What's the lowest they can pick and stuff like that. So kind of just want to take a deep dive because it's a question I've been asked a lot, on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. Just the last few days with everything going on, the Patriots beating the Broncos the way they did really does help out Washington. But Washington still needs a couple other things to really happen along the way. And there's a couple things that a lot of people don't realize about these picks, like with, head-to-head, strength of schedule and stuff like that, and how these picks really do get determined moving forward. We know how the playoff bracket can, be situated and stuff like that. Obviously, Washington's out of the playoffs, so we don't care about the playoff situation. I do not care who wins or, what these wins do for other teams. Like if it helps the Eagles get a first round bye, if it helps the Cowboys get a first round bye, I don't care about any of those teams. I care about us and what we can do to better our team for next season. So I just want to pull up Tankathon and really just kind of look at it because they have a really cool tool that they've pushed out as well that just really helps you determine, what you should be rooting for on the weekend. But then also want to talk a little bit at the second half of this video, just the situation that Washington is in. There's a lot of ruckus that I caused on Twitter or X, like I said, whatever you want to call it, the last few days, just talking about, Washington having possibly a top 3 pick and what that looks like, who they should take. Do they take a possible franchise altering quarterback that can, be that game changer? I'm going to talk about all that. But first off, let's just take a look at Tankathon. But I will drop a poll for everyone that pops in. Should Washington take a quarterback in the top 3? Because like I said, this is something I'm going to be talking about, second half of the stream of where Washington could possibly be draft pick wise and how that really does determine which route Washington goes. So first one, I'm like I said, I'm gonna pull up Tankathon. We're gonna take a quick look at this, and just take a look at the draft order. And like I said, what you can expect out of Washington. So, as you can see, Washington has a 3rd pick right now at 4-11, and because the Patriots did beat the Broncos, we jumped to the 3rd spot. And people are saying, is it because of the head-to-head? Because we beat New England? Is it because of the 4-11? But if you look on the right side there, where it says SOS. That is the strength of the schedule. And it's actually gotten a little bit better. I don't think Tinkathon is fully updated it yet, but it's actually a little bit better after the Ravens beat the 49ers last night. We needed the Ravens to win that one, and they did convincingly. So good for the Ravens. Appreciate that across the Beltway. So I think the gap is actually a little bit more than that. I think Washington, where it says like 0.520, I think it's like 0.5, like 6 or something like that. Like it's gotten much better. Like the gap from us to New England is much better. So even though we do have the same record, even though we did beat them head to head, like the head to head isn't the tell all, like the determining factor anymore. It's really depending on that strength of schedule. And if you look over here, this little question mark where the strength of schedule is, the strength of schedule using all 17 opponents. So they've already factored in those last 2 games of the season. But the thing that can really determine and what can really change things is the fact that, there's a couple teams that New England play, and then the last 2 teams we play, and those teams playing other teams across the league. Like it can make their record better or it can make it worse, hence changing the strength of schedule along the way. So like I said, they have this really cool tool I want to show y'all. I'm really just saying like, hey, Josh, what are we rooting for? And I know there's fans that wanted us to beat the Jets. I was not one of those fans. Like there was not a banner I was ready to hang up in my bedroom when I got home saying like, guys, we beat the god-awful Jets and Trevor Siemian at the end of the season once again for no reason. And I get it. People saying, well, the players don't think like that. Like it's a pride thing, whatever. I have no pride currently with this coaching staff and the regime that we have for Washington right now. I could care less if this team gets another win. I don't want another Ron Rivera post-game arm cross, beating his chest. Like, yeah, we won that game. Kind of, hoopla out of Ron Rivera on his way out the door. And same with Martin Mayhew. I don't want to give this regime I want no doubt that when the season ends, we're cleaning house. You want to see something else, by the way, look at the right side of this. Washington has lost 6 straight games. That is by far the most in the NFL right now. And honestly, good. Like we knew the season was over. We know that there's a major rebuild happening. And this is something I've talked about on a stream not too long ago. Like I said, I put it on my YouTube channel. And that is that the most important hire in probably franchise history is hiring the new GM coming up, which should happen within a month from now. I'd say in the next 30 days, we're going to know exactly who our GM is. I know that the Super Bowl and stuff's coming up as well in like February, so we've got a little bit of time. But as soon as that like Black Monday hits, the Monday after that Cowboys game, I promise you Ron Rivera is going to be fired. Martin Mayhew's going to be fired. And the interview process will start. We will have a very good idea. And like I said, I went through the list of GMs that I'm actually pulling for in, my hopeful wish list. And I think, like I said, that's the biggest hire. Yes, you can talk about coaches, you can talk about players and such, but if you don't have the right GM in place, we're going to have probably the second most salary cap in the offseason. We're going to have all this draft capital that I'm talking about today. And we have some talent on this team. Like I said, I think the whole roster needs a revamp. So we need a GM that can actually come in, use these picks wisely, use the salary cap wisely. And that's why I wanted the best pick possible. I want whoever our GM is, Adam Peters, Joe Ortiz, Mike Borgonzi, whoever it is, to come in and build this team the way they want to. If we do get Joe Ortiz from the Ravens, and you see how he's built that roster, you've seen how he's, treated the Lamar thing. We all knew he needed to get paid. It was going to happen regardless. They weren't going to let him walk. Getting Odell, a big-time playmaker, but then drafting, Mark Andrews, Kyle Hamilton, Zay Flowers, getting Patrick Queen, getting, Roquan Smith, building that team and that roster up the way that they need to where they can be successful. That's what we need here. So I want the best pick possible. Nothing in me says, guys, let's beat the Jets and let's go ahead and get that 7th or 8th pick. Whatever happens, happens. No, I want the best pick possible. That's just how I come about it. Some fans agree with me. Some fans completely disagree. But like I said, Washington right now is tied with New England at 4-11. Arizona right there at 3-12. I don't see Carolina winning 2 more games, let alone 1. I think they're done. And then same with the Giants. So obviously we need Washington to lose out. So let's start with Washington. Who does Washington play these next 2 weeks coming up? And right here is our current draft picks. Obviously, we have the 3rd overall pick. Pick 36, we have pick 41 from Chicago, which keeps getting worse because they keep winning games and looking good. We need Chicago to lose too because we're guaranteed to pick ahead of them in the first round. Not worried about that anymore. We need Chicago to lose these last 2 games. So that 2nd round pick can get better. Then we have the 67th overall pick in the 3rd. Our 100 pick from San Francisco, that 3rd comp we got for Chase Young. Pick 104 in the 4th. And then the 5th, we have pick 137, and we rounded out with 180 in the 6th and 221 in the 7th. And then you see a little bit of mock draft flow here. Not going to get into that too much. But big thing, once again, we have 2 hard games to finish the season. We have a very angry San Francisco 49er team. Like I said, they got embarrassed last night at home on Christmas to the Ravens. And they are coming to FedEx Field on New Year's Eve and just trying to end the season on a good note. Obviously, NFC matchup. They're trying to better themselves playoff-wise. And then same with Dallas. That's a game that, you hope that they don't, sit all their starters and stuff. Because I think Dallas is going to have a lot to play for January 7th. It's really close with the Eagles and the 49ers, like I said, and the Cowboys really getting that seeding in the playoffs. They're going to have something to play for too. I don't see us winning either of those games. Would I be mad if we won? Pretty much. Once again, obviously the Dallas one's tough. You want to beat Dallas. Hate the Cowboys more than anything. That's kind of like a pride one. They're our rivals. It was nice to win that game at the end of the season last year. We weren't really thinking that way. But we were picking in the middle of the pack last season anyways. This is completely different. So that's one thing I'm going to talk about, like I said, of having a top 3 pick. And how it's different than having, say, pick 8 or pick 9, let alone, pick 15 or something like that. It completely changes your aggressiveness. It completely changes your strategy for the draft. So we have San Francisco and Dallas as the last 2 games of the season. Like I said, also want to take a look at and show y'all what this tiebreaker really looks like. Arizona is the team that's right there with us. They are 3-12. They have a ton of picks coming up in this draft. They play the Eagles in Seattle. We need them to win one more. I'm not saying that the Eagles are a could win, but the Eagles aren't looking good at all. Even against the Giants yesterday, the Eagles aren't looking too hot. I think they've been a lot worse than people have kind of projected them to be. It seems like they're kind of crumbling. Offense is kind of looking stagnant. Seattle can have a pretty good defense. Maybe they can run the ball. I mean, Arizona has a pretty solid defense. But like I said, maybe they can get things going. Kyler Murray and stuff, I don't see it, but who knows? But then with Seattle at the end of the season as well, once again, we don't know what to expect out of Seattle. So we need Arizona to hopefully win one of those games. I don't think they will, to be honest with you. It would be nice if they did. I think there's a better chance they beat either Philly or Seattle than we have a chance of beating the 49ers or the Cowboys. So we have that going for us. Like they say, any given Sunday, you just never know. But then outside of the Cardinals, the more important team is the New England Patriots for a lot of reasons. One, because we do have the same record and the strength of schedule is so close to each other. We would love for New England to get one more win and really just solidify us as that top 3 pick. I think the most likely scenario is us finishing at 3. The 4th overall pick is right there as well. So there's a lot that can change with that pick, though. And like I said, I'm going to talk about how important that difference of 3 and 4 is this season. And the Patriots finished with the Buffalo Bills, which they honestly play pretty well for whatever reason time to time. Buffalo has their meltdowns, but they are trying to, get into the playoffs after having a pretty down season. And then they have the Jets, who we just lost to. Still a really bad team, even though the defense is great. That could be a 9-6 game. Who knows? I just don't think the Patriots offense is good enough to beat either of those teams, but their defense is really good. Shout out to my guy, Christian Barmore. He's been balling out this season. So we have the Cardinals have the Eagles and the Seahawks their last 2 games this season. We have the Patriots, who have the Buffalo Bills and the Jets the last 2. Once again, I think that the Cardinals have a better chance of beating either the Eagles or the Seahawks. And I think the Patriots have a better chance of beating either the Bills, more than likely the Jets, than we do beating the 49ers and Cowboys. So with that being said, let me pull up the new tool, which is honestly one of my favorite things about Tankathon, and it is the SOS, the Strength of Schedule Tiebreaker Rooting Help Guide. Yes, this is a thing. So we are Washington, and we are going to first, let's look at New England first, because like I said, I think that is the biggest scenario here. So, Josh, what teams should I be rooting for? What teams really changed the strength of schedule in these last 2 games of the season? Let me zoom in a little bit more so y'all can actually see. So, like I said, I, even if this is pretty much if the Patriots lose out, we lose out. Like, what do we need to happen? What kind of changes the strength of schedule? And honestly, I don't like a lot of these. The Jets beating Cleveland, that is not going to happen. Cleveland is going to beat the Jets pretty convincingly, so that's not good for us. Detroit and Dallas, I think it's a really good game, by the way. Once again, that Week 17 matchup has a ton of implications towards playoff seeding. The Lions aren't out as the number 1 seed, by the way. Like, they need to beat Dallas. They need a couple of things to happen. They can sneak into that number 1 seed because of the Eagles, collapse the last few weeks. And same with Dallas. Dallas isn't out of it either. They need that 1 seed. But we need Detroit to show up. Maybe our future head coach Johnson, their offensive coordinator, can get things going against that Dallas defense. That's going to be a big-time matchup for them as well. Then you have the Saints and Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay's fighting once again to win the division. They're, trying to get some playoff stuff going. I don't think the Saints are technically out yet. I think they are somehow still in the playoffs because the NFC is just that bad. But we need the Saints to somehow win that one, which once again, I don't feel too good about. And then Miami-Baltimore, that's a great matchup. Once again, 2 top AFC teams. I think Baltimore's defense, especially with Miami being so banged up, Tyreek Hill's banged up. And then, of course, Waddle, they said he has a high ankle sprain. They don't know how serious that is. Not looking good for Miami, not looking good for us because we need Miami to win that one. But I think Baltimore would win that one. Pittsburgh and Seattle. Honestly, Mike Tomlin just knows how to win, even though that team is ugly. If you've watched any Pittsburgh games this year, you're like, what the world is going on? Their defense is great. Their offense is pretty bad. But it seems like Mason Rudolph, hit the ground running with George Pickens. And since Pickett's been out and things have gotten better. So who knows? Maybe the Pittsburgh Steelers do win that one. I think it is in Seattle, though, which is a tough place to play. And Seattle's not that bad either. I think they have some injuries they're dealing with, but still, I think it's a great matchup. I think the Pittsburgh Steelers could win that one. Chargers over Denver. Don't feel too good about that one either, especially with Russ and them playing better, even though they did lose to the Patriots. The Chargers are still just really bad right now. Everyone's pretty much chucked out of the season for them, but so is Denver. Like Denver's, I think, pretty much officially, I think it's like a 2% chance they make the playoffs now. They need a lot to happen. So, they still are technically playing for something. Maybe Denver, wins that one, but we need the Chargers to win. Cincinnati and Kansas City. Kansas City absolutely has to win this one. This is one I feel the best about. There's no way Kansas City loses to Cincinnati, even with Joe Burrow not playing. Like Pat Mahomes, it is his motto to never lose to the Bengals ever again. Ever. I think that's a good little boiling rivalry. Yeah, this would have been a great matchup with Joe Burrow healthy. Both teams at 100%. This has been a really fun one to watch, but I think Kansas City can win that one pretty convincingly. And then look at week 18 to end things out. The Colts and the Houston Texans. We need the Colts to win that one. Once again, Colts are fighting for playoff implications as well. Green Bay and Chicago. I feel good about that one. Like this is the week where I'm like, all right, maybe things can happen. The only one I don't like is Pittsburgh over Baltimore to end the season. Maybe Baltimore, if they lock in a 1 seed, they rest, Lamar and everybody. That's the only chance we really have at that one. Raiders over Denver. I like that one a lot. Raiders are playing with their ears behind their back. They're like pinned back and they got that team ready to go. And then the Saints over the Falcons. So this is for the Patriots matchup. So there's a couple things we need to happen. Does it look beautiful? No, not by any means. There's a lot that could go the Patriots' way. This is why I think it is important that the Patriots do win one more game, though. But if it's not the Patriots and say the Cardinals win one more game, could Washington even get up to that number 2 spot? Yes. So if the Patriots win a game and the Cardinals win a game, then things kind of changed for us, depending on what happens. Then we do need the Browns to beat the Jets then, which I think would be a good chance. We still need Detroit to beat Dallas this week. That's like a must happen pretty much for us. Like we need Detroit to beat Dallas for our strength of schedule to get better. Rams over the Giants. I feel good about that one. Then we can start cheering for Baltimore over Miami. The Texans over Tennessee. Chargers over Denver again. Need Cincinnati to beat Kansas City. Like I said, don't see that happening. Texans over the Colts and Raiders over Denver. So the biggest thing I think is going to be week 18. I think week 17 could possibly change some things for us. The only thing that would really happen is if the Patriots somehow pull out a big time, upset over the Bills, or if the Cardinals once again pull off a big time upset over the Eagles. I think those are the two least likely things to happen. So that's why I'm saying I think that week 18 is going to be the one that's it's going to come down to the wire. It's going to come down to, can the Patriots beat the Jets? COORC44 said, I think our best chance is losing out and having New England beat the Jets. Absolutely. And I think that's very possible. Like that's what we're hoping for. I'm hoping that the Patriots end on a high note. Maybe Bill Belichick's fighting for his job, whatever. They're convinced to stay with them, whatever it may be. And they just hate each other. That's an in-division rivalry. So hopefully the Patriots can get that one. So I think that's best case scenario. Patriots beat the Jets. And like I said, if the Cardinals somehow do end up beating the Seahawks to end the season, we finish with the same record. That's when strength of schedule can get a little bit tricky once again. And we need some of these teams that I just showed you to start winning. Try to go back to the main screen here let me see. Let's do floor for the NFL. So just really show you I don't need more than the first round. So that's what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping that the Patriots can get one more in them. And I'm hoping that the Cardinals can maybe slide by one more, because the highest that Washington could pick would be the number 2 overall pick, which would be massive. Haven't had that since Chase Young. I know how people feel about that. Like, well, Josh, last time you had the pick, look what happened. And that's something I could talk about as well, as people are convinced that Washington just will not draft good players, so it doesn't matter. And I think that's an extremely lazy take. Like I said, guys, like Ron Rivera and Mayhew are not going to be here next season. I promise you. We're going to have a real GM in the building. We're going to have a real head coach in the building that know how to build a roster, that know how to build a team. And I think it's super important to have these picks for a couple reasons. Let me go ahead and get rid of the screen. Because like I said, having that top 3 pick, it's different. You don't have a mid-round pick. So let's talk about real quick this discussion. Like I said, it's been super hot on social media the last few days. And it's if Washington should take a pick of a quarterback in that top 3 rounds and why. So for me, this is how it comes down to, and this is the big thing I said yesterday. It has nothing to do with Sam Howell and the fact that, it's nothing against him. It's not like, oh, he's bad, he sucks, like we need to move on, blah, 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 blah. It's not that. It's the fact that could you upgrade drastically at the position? Do you think Sam Howell is a franchise quarterback that can win you playoff games, that can win you a Super Bowl? That is the goal. The goal is to win the Super Bowl. If you're not building a team to win the Super Bowl, I have no idea what you're doing. We're not trying to just sneak in the playoffs and lose first round. We're not trying to just win 8, 9, 10 games a season and call it a season every year. That is not the goal. The goal is to win a Super Bowl. So, yes, you could be a good quarterback in this league, but can you win a Super Bowl with that good quarterback? And that's the question. I think Sam Howell is a good quarterback. And like I said, there's nothing against him. I love Sam Howell. He's one of my favorite players on the team. Spent a lot of time with him at the Senior Bowl, training camp, and such. Like, I love Sam. He's a great guy. He's a great player. I love how he plays. The last few weeks have been really bad of Sam Howell, though. And another question I raised, is that just the offense, or is that teams actually figuring out and watching the tape of how to defend Sam Howell? Because it seems like after every single game, I posted a picture. David Long Jr. said after the game, like, yeah, their offense really isn't too hard. You just have to, it's not hard to defend. You pretty much just have to defend the basics. The best things come when Sam rolls out and they try to do things out of the pocket. But once again, that's not hard to defend. It's super easy to defend. He sat there and said, like, guys like Terry and Curtis Samuel, it's not like we force the ball to Terry when Sam Howell's in. It's not like, Curtis Samuel has to get the ball out in open space. It's nothing special. It's just a basic offense. So maybe defenses around the league, he's not the only guy that said that. Like, people from every team pretty much the last few weeks have said something about this offense where it's just like, yeah, Sam, like, he's a baller, he fights. But at the same time, like, there's nothing crazy about the offense that surprised us or something crazy that we had to defend. Nothing like that. So is that the offense you want next season? And there's a lot of arguments. And then you watched the game last night. You watched Lamar Jackson, a game-changing quarterback, versus Brock Purdy, who is this game manager. Maybe I won't even just say average quarterback. He's an above-average quarterback. He doesn't have the elite arm talent. He was the last pick in the draft. I won't sit here and discredit Brock Purdy because I think he's a good quarterback. But by any means is he as talented as a Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Pat Mahomes, obviously? No. By any means, he is not as talented as any of these guys. He's not. And I didn't think he would be an MVP quarterback, by the way. So my question is, do you take a chance on Sam Howell being, as good as Brock Purdy? Fine. Maybe that's his ceiling, Brock Purdy, how Brock Purdy has looked the last few weeks. But you have to have the perfect team around him. Look at the 49ers, one of the best defenses in the league. Their offensive line is honestly pretty average. Their offensive line could get, a lot better. They have Trent Williams, who's the best left tackle in all of the NFL. But outside of that, they don't have anyone really special. They have weapons all over. They have the best running back in football. They have Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, one of the best, if not, the best tight end this year, because Kelsey's kind of had a little fall off, with George Kittle. You have to have the perfect team around Brock Purdy, and he's still going to have those moments like he did last night, like he has before. Who was it? The Vikings game where he throws these interceptions because there's a certain ceiling to the quarterback. Is Brock Purdy going to do the things that Lamar Jackson does for you when he's on? Is he going to do the things that Patrick Mahomes can do? And I know the Chiefs are having a down year, but I've had so many people discredit me saying, well, look how that's worked out for Pat Mahomes this year. That man is the greatest quarterback of all time, possibly. They have Super Bowl wins. You can't sit here and say, well, look at them this year. They're obviously not going to win the Super Bowl every year. He has wide receivers dropping everything for him. Yes, you need a good team around him. That is not the argument. Yes, we need a better offensive line. Yes, we need better weapons. Yes, we absolutely need a better defense. But the question remains is, are you going to let your quarterback dictate and really limit the success that your overall team has? You have a much better chance of getting that superstar quarterback, whether it's Caleb Williams, whether it's Drake May. I'll even entertain Jaden Daniels because I think Jaden Daniels is going to be a great quarterback because of how dynamic and how explosive he is with his legs. He was the best deep passer in all of college football last year. Drake May was the second best deep passer in all of college football last year. Caleb Williams has that it factor, that Pat Mahomes play where he can run out, he can make these crazy throws. He has the arm angle talent, something you can't teach. Like the arm angle talent of a Matt Stafford, the elusiveness of a Patrick Mahomes, you cannot teach that. Yes, Sam Howell has a strong arm, but there's so many things that Sam Howell doesn't do that really limits. He's not taking the easy checkdowns. He's not going through the reads quickly. There's just certain things, the accuracy, the decision-making of Sam Howell. Are you going to let the quarterback position really limit how successful this team is the next few years? And I have a lot of people saying, Josh, give Sam Howell time. And once again, it's not saying Sam Howell is a bad quarterback. You have a new regime coming in. You have a new GM, a new head coach, possibly a new offensive coordinator coming in. Do you think they're going to say, guys, let's build this team up and just see what we have in Sam Howell? And, whether he's a 5th round pick, whatever, there's a certain ceiling to Sam Howell. You do your job as a scout. You watch the tapes. You watched him at North Carolina, how he looked. You looked at that last game of the season last year, which honestly looks probably the best Sam Howell's looked. And then you watch the entire tape from this year and how it's really changed over the last few weeks. Does the last few weeks really dictate of what Sam Howell could be moving forward? I think Sam Howell can turn out to be good, but that's not the question. The question isn't, is Sam Howell good? The question is, can you upgrade the quarterback position? Yes. No one around the league is saying, I think Sam Howell could possibly be a Joe Burrow type. Nobody is saying that. What is the best that Sam Howell could possibly be? Maybe a Jared Goff. Is Jared Goff good enough to win a Super Bowl? Yeah, he's done it. But it's that big if. It's that big if. And once again, Caleb Williams, Drake May, Jaden Daniels, they're not guaranteed hits. But at the same time, is their ceiling better than Sam Howell? You have to say yes. Could it be? Not, once again, there's nothing a guarantee. You could draft Marvin Harrison Jr. and he's not a guarantee. You can draft Olu Fashanu and he's not a guarantee. I think they're great players. I would love to have either of those. I would love either of those top quarterbacks. I think this is a phenomenal draft when it comes to talent-wise. This is not the same draft where Kenny Pickett somehow went in the first round. This is not that same draft class with Kenny Pickett, Desmond Ridder, Malik Willis, Sam Howell. That was an awful quarterback draft class. And Sam Howell still went 5th round for a reason. I think he takes too many sacks. I think his pocket awareness has gotten better this season. There's just so many things to Sam Howell's game, but you're just like, I don't know if he can be that winning quarterback at the next level in the NFL consistently. Once again, we're not trying to win 6, 7, 8 games. We're trying to win a Super Bowl. And I think you have a better chance of doing that when you have a playmaking quarterback like a Joe Burrow, a Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson. Are those guarantees to happen? No, but I promise you Caleb Williams is the best quarterback prospect that's come out, the last few years. He's been highly regarded. He would have went ahead of Bryce Young last year. He would have been the number 1 overall pick last year. And if it wasn't 1, he probably would have been 2. But with that being said, it's just as a new regime, are you willing to waste that first year and just say, guys, let's just wait and see? Because once again, even if you build a perfect team like the 49ers have, your limited above average quarterback is still going to have those moments where he's going to throw interceptions. He's going to make bad reads. That limitation that he has from a skill set point as a quarterback is still going to come out. It doesn't matter if you have the perfect team, and Brock Purdy has shown that a couple times this year. I know he's just like in this MVP conversation before yesterday, but go back to the Vikings game and then go back to the Ravens game yesterday. Both teams have a great defense. I think the Ravens now probably have the best defense in the NFL. But you can only win but so much with those guys. And I think it's just from a new regime standpoint, you have to take a chance on a Caleb Williams, on a Drake May, on a Jaden Daniels, because you do have a top 3 pick. Once again, this is not saying, hey, guys, we have pick 16 again. Let's take Bo Nix. Let's take Michael Penix Jr. That is not the conversation we're having. It's Washington has a top 3 pick. This is a position where you are in the most likely range, not a guaranteed hit. You're in the most likely range to get a franchise quarterback. So you have to do it. When's the next time you're going to be in a top 3 pick again? Hopefully you don't. Hopefully you win some games. But with that being said, you can still build your team around Caleb Williams. You can still spend that second most salary cap that you have in the NFL. You can still use those draft picks on offensive linemen. Pretty much our second round picks, like, are almost first round picks anyways. It makes no difference. This tackle draft is deep. Guys, I promise you can build an offensive line outside the first. The Ravens have 1 offensive lineman in the first round. The Eagles have only 1 offensive lineman that went in the first round. You can build up a successful offensive line outside of the first round. But at the end of the day, if you have the chance to get your quarterback, you got to do it. You absolutely have to do it. Will I be mad if the new regime rolls with Sam Howell? No, because once again, I like Sam Howell, and I think he's good. It's just my expectations are that Washington can only be so good, even with a really good team, even with a 49er team around. If Sam Howell can't make the plays consistently throughout the entire season and make a run in the playoffs, then what are we doing it for? What are you hoping to get out of it? That's my biggest question. Do you have a better chance of winning a Super Bowl if Caleb Williams hits his ceiling, or if Sam Howell hits his ceiling? And in my opinion, the obvious answer is Caleb Williams. I'll even say Drake May, like the arm talent. He's bigger than Sam. They're not the same. This whole like helmet scouting thing is the stupidest argument you're going to hear leading up to the draft. Oh, I don't want a quarterback from USC. I don't want another North Carolina. It has nothing to do with that. If anyone ever says that, they knew absolutely nothing about football. Like that's like the stupidest thing you can say, to be honestly. So for me, it's just, can you upgrade the position? Yes. Should you do so? I think a new regime has a hard time going with Sam Howell for another season, because you don't know what the next year's draft class looks like. It could be another Kenny Pickett class. You probably have Shedeur Sanders, Quinn Ewers, a couple of guys. Someone will get hot and pop up again. But you're not going to have that guy who's more than likely to hit, like a Caleb Williams or a Drake May or even a Jaden Daniels. Some aren't on, like, some people don't like Jaden Daniels. I like Jaden Daniels. So appreciate the conversation today, guys. Let's take a quick look at the poll and see. 80% of people say that Washington should take a quarterback in the top 3. And that's, like I said, that's the discussion, guys. This whole argument is not a Sam Howell sucks. This isn't a Sam Howell's a bad quarterback discussion. It's that a new regime that actually knows how to draft and build a team has a top 3 pick in this draft and an opportunity to get a franchise-changing quarterback. Should they do so? And the answer is yes. It's very, very hard to do so. And I know you're like, well, the quarterback's been picked in the middle of the first round. Every draft class is different. You have to evaluate this class as it is. You can't sit here and go, oh, well, so-and-so is picked at pick 16, or Lamar's picked 32, or so-and-so is picked here. Every draft class is different. It has nothing to do with that. But let's see. Hey, maybe look at this pick like an attractive poker hand. See what might get offered in a trade. Says Dana Cunningham. If you have a value for the pick, let's hope something offers a whole lot more. But that's the only thing that worries me. This is the last thing I'll say before I wrap up, is that you have the Cardinals and Patriots who might be ahead of us. The Patriots won a quarterback. The Bears pretty much dictates what happened. Maybe we have to trade up and at first to get Caleb Williams. And once again, I'm fine with that. If that's the quarterback that the new regime likes, if that's the new quarterback that our GM wants to build around, then I'm fine with that. Even if he does it for Drake May, I don't care. If that's who they pick, cool. If they pick Sam Howell, once again, I'm going to say cool. There's nothing like we can do to change it. I'm going to trust the new regime because we've been stuck with this terrible front office and coaching staff for so long. I just want something different. And once again, not saying that Sam Howell couldn't be the answer moving forward. It's just that you're in such a unique situation of having that top 3 pick that has so much weight to it. And I know not every quarterback comes out is a guaranteed hit. Like I said, I've said that many times. I know. But it is much more likely for Caleb Williams to turn into a franchise quarterback than Sam Howell. It is much more likely for Drake May to turn into a franchise quarterback than Sam Howell. That's just my opinion. Yours might be different. Others might disagree. Some might agree with me. That's fine. But like I said, I appreciate y'all coming on here, guys. I will be back for the post-game stream for the 49ers coming up on, like I said, New Year's Eve. I forgot what time that game is, but like I said, the 49ers have a lot to play for. They are going to be furious after that showing against the Ravens last night. But I appreciate y'all stopping by here on Bleach Report, and I will be back for more stuff. Follow me on Twitter at Josh Taylor FB, and check out the YouTube channel JTFB, where I'll be doing more stuff with draft content coming up, going to the NFL draft, going to the Senior Bowl, probably going to the Combine and some pro days as well. So stay tuned, and I'll be back. Appreciate y'all. Peace. Underdog Fantasy is the best place to participate in all of your fantasy contests, whether it's the NFL, MLB, PGA Golf, NBA, even college football. This user-friendly app, you can win up to 20 times your money in a single night. And my favorite part is that when you sign up in your first deposit and you use my promo code JTFB, they will double your first deposit up to $100. Now, how does it work? You pick lower or higher on stat projections that Underdog Fantasy gives you, whether it's passing yards, rebounds, points, you name it. And for each selection, say you want to select 3 people or 4 people, your odds go up based off of how many you select. My favorite feature, however, is sometimes I want to make 4 selections and I'm not feeling too confident in all of them. I love taking advantage of the pick'em insurance to where if I miss one pick in my contest, I still get paid out on lower odds. So sign up today, download the app, and use my promo code JTFB to get up to $100 in your first deposit.